ladies and gentlemen. We have learned a couple of nice Hungarian words this morning, but now I would like to tell you a few words about the Hungarian language, because this language we speak here in Hungary is really a very special, a very unique one, because Hungarian language is not related to the big European language families. Because there are three big language families in Europe. First, Latin languages like Spanish, Italian, French languages, but Hungarian is not related to that language family. The second one is, let's say, the Germanic type of languages like English, German, Dutch, which is totally different from 99% of the European languages. You can find only 2 languages in Europe related to Hungarian. And the Hungarians came from Asian territories. They settled at the foot of the Ural Mountains. They had been living there for hundreds of years, and we think that it was where they brought the language from the Ural Mountains. So Finnish people, they were picking the language at the same part of Europe. Our words much longer because we don't use prepositions, but we are using suffixes and endings. We attach them to the words, but at the end of one word we have not just 2 or 3 endings, sometimes 5, 6 or 10 or 12 endings at the end of one word. So that makes the language quite difficult to learn. Say that after Chinese, Japanese, and Arabic languages, Hungarian is probably the 3rd or 4th most difficult language of the world to learn. So basically you have to be born here to learn the language. It is really complicated but really very nice, so that's a really very nice language, interesting but very difficult to learn. So of course for Hungarians it is not only an option to learn foreign languages. When we go to school, elementary school, then we start to learn foreign language, English, German usually, or Spanish, Italian, French, so usually you have different options. So now we say goodbye to Buda, and we are going to cross the Margaret Bridge. Maybe you remember that from this morning when we were on the lookout point. This is Margaret Bridge. Very simple bridge, but very beautiful. It was built in the 1870s. Look at the view on the right hand side. That's why they built it without the pillars, because they didn't want to destroy the view you can have from here. So it's very nice to walk across this bridge. I can really recommend it for this afternoon, probably. As I've mentioned, this bridge is pretty close to your hotel. That's Parliament building on the right with a beautiful red dome and the red roof. But if you have a look to the left, that's where we have the island. You remember the island we also saw from the top of the hill. So here on the left, here is the branch of the bridge that goes to the island. When you are on the island, and cars are not allowed to drive there, it's very clean, it's very, very quiet. It's a beautiful place for a walk, pretty gardens and flowers and some entertaining and sport facilities we have there. You can rent bicycles, family tricycles, small like golf carts on the island if you want to get around. So it is really very, very pretty there. There is a big outdoor swimming pool on the island that opens usually at the beginning of summer, because summers are getting very hot here in Hungary, in Budapest. In July and in August almost every day is like over 90. So we love the outdoor swimming pool there. So ladies and gentlemen, if you keep walking straight from here, you follow the main street, you walk just 10 minutes and you get back to your hotel. So it is the direction to walk to your hotel from here, this main street, where the tram track is. Exactly, the yellow tram, you can see, tram number 4 and 6, you just follow, and the same tram tracks you can see, or tram line you can see right outside your hotel. But a lot of people are going there for jogging, because jogging is very big, and on the island there is a jogging track. So if you like jogging, then the island is a perfect place for that. A lot of people do that in Budapest, jogging on the Margaret Island. That's not because we love jogging that much, that's because we are eating a lot of Hungarian food like goulash and stuffed cabbage and these kind of traditional dishes. So from here you can see the bridge, the Margaret Bridge, probably a little bit better. Really very nice bridge, as I've mentioned. It was built in the 1870s. French architects designed the bridge. Unfortunately, every bridge of the city was blown up in World War II, so they had to rebuild the bridge after World War II. Like every bridge in the city, every bridge was rebuilt after they were blown up. And here is the river Danube again. You can see the river here on the right hand side. The Danube, as I've mentioned, the second longest river of Europe it is. It originates in Germany in the so-called Black Forest region. Here in Budapest it is really very beautiful and really very bright. So tonight when we will be on the dinner cruise, then we will see both sides of the city with all the fantastic buildings with the lights. Okay, so yeah, big applause for Attila. As you can see, this is not easy to drive big buses in Budapest. So largest part of the city was built back in the 1800s for horses and carriages, not for big buses. So we have a lot of narrow streets, narrow turns. Lots in the city because the river looks so nice and quiet now, but sometimes when it's very rainy or when the snow starts to melt in the mountains, then we may have a little flood here. And when we have the flood, and this street where we are driving now is flooded. Yeah, sometimes the water comes up here, then they close this main road from traffic, of course, and as you can see on the left hand side, there is a wall. The wall that protects the buildings of the city from the flood. So even when we have the flood and none of the buildings of the city are damaged, and that's the same on the Buda side. On the Buda side it looks the same. First there's a road for cars, a street for cars, and then the wall, and then the buildings. Yeah, so if you have a look to the right, you can see the Buda side with the hills, but here on the left you will see the Hungarian parliament building soon. The parliament that we saw already from the Buda side. Now we will see it just up close. It was built in the 1880s, 1890s. Here on the left you can see our fantastic parliament building. When it was built, it was the largest parliament building of the world. Today that's only the third largest because Argentina and Romania, they have larger parliament buildings than Hungary. But this is still our active parliament building. So since it was built and opened, actually it was in 1904, it has been functioning as the parliament building. Our parliament has sessions here. We elect members of parliament in every 4 years when we have public elections in Hungary. Our parliament has 199 members, yeah, nearly 200 members, and we elect members of parliament and the prime minister. The prime minister has the power in this country, but Hungary also has a president, but the president is much more like a figurehead. She or he has no real power, and he is appointed by the parliament. So the president is not elected by the people, the president is appointed by a parliament. So this is the system here. But here in this beautiful parliament building we have, or the parliament has its sessions on Mondays and Tuesdays, but of course there are a lot of offices. The building is huge, almost 700 rooms it has, and beautiful interior decorations. If you are on the tour tomorrow morning, the optional tour, tomorrow then we will start the tour here in the parliament and we will see the fantastic parliament building inside. That's where we have the crown of Hungary kept, because we have no royalties, but we have a 1,000-year-old fantastic royal crown. It's also kept here in the Parliament building. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have a look to the right, there you can see the Matthias Church on the top of the hill. So the high white steeple, where you see the cranes and the high white steeple, that's the church we visited. That's Matthias Church. In front of the church you can see the spires of the Fisherman's Bastion. And on the river, the other church, the red brick church, we just simply call it the red brick church. It was built in the 1890s, not a big fantasy we have, yeah, red brick church we call it, and that's a Protestant church. Here on the left, a statue on the stairs, a famous Hungarian poet, Attila József. You can see flowers there. Actually, it was yesterday when we celebrated his birthday, and in Hungary that's a special day. That's the day of Hungarian literature, with a lot of performances in Hungarian theater. So he was a great Hungarian poet. He wrote a beautiful poem about the river Danube. That's why he has a statue here located at the bank of the river. And when we started the tour, we were driving close to the Jewish synagogue, and I've mentioned that Hungary had a high Jewish population, but unfortunately in World War II, more than 500,000 Hungarian Jews were deported and killed in concentration camps, or here in Budapest. And here on the right we have a Jewish memorial, the so-called shoe memorial. So please have a look to the right. You will see shoes. They are like statues. They are made of bronze, but they are like real statues. Here on the right. Yes, right at the edge, behind the people, the edge of the river, behind the people, they are shoes. 60 pairs of shoes here. And this is a Jewish Holocaust memorial. You can see flowers here, candles, stones, rocks. That's the Jewish tradition, to put stones to the graves and memorials. So, unfortunately, when we had the Hungarian fascists, the Hungarian Nazis, who closed the Jewish population of Budapest into Jewish ghettos at the end of World War II, 1944, October, November, the Jewish ghettos, the walls of the Jewish ghettos were put up, and they closed the Jewish people into special parts of the city, small places. They were in a lack of food, they were starving, there were epidemics there, so they had to stay in the Jewish ghettos among terrible circumstances. And in 1945 January, when the Soviet Red Army was close to Budapest, and the Germans and the Hungarian fascists knew that, then they broke into the Jewish ghetto, and they were marching here to the bank of the river with Jewish people at night. We don't know any exact numbers, but every night like 100, 120 people, Jewish people, had to march here to the bank of the river. And when they were here on the river bank, they had to step out of their shoes. They had to leave their leather shoes behind, because they were kind of valuables at the end of World War II. So actually the Nazis wanted to keep the leather shoes. That's why they had to step out of their shoes first, and after that they had to line up at the river bank facing the river Danube, and after that they were shot into the river by the fascists. And because all the bodies, the corpses were taken by the river, and only the shoes were left behind. That's why they put up this shoe memorial 60 years after it all happened. In 2005 they put up this memorial, and that's why there are 60 pairs of shoes, because it was 60 years after the Holocaust. And in front of us on the right hand side there's Chain Bridge, the old bridge again, and you can see the palace across from here, the big building with the green dome, with the green roof. That's the Royal Palace. Yes, more people, more traffic on the Pest side. Yes, it's really typical. Pest has more people are working on the Pest side, more schools, more entertaining facilities. So Pest is always very busy. Usually heavy traffic we have on the weekdays because 2 million people live in the city, but 1 more million people are coming to work or to study, plus the tour buses, tourists. So this is always busy here on the Pest side. And here, near the river, close to Chain Bridge, this is where we have a very touristic part of our city. We have a lot of 5-star hotels located here, Intercontinental, Marriott hotels. We have a beautiful Four Seasons hotel that's like a beautiful palace. Just behind the buildings, that's where we have that pedestrian shopping street I've mentioned in the morning called the Váci, VACI. You remember we saw the Ferris wheel, and just behind the Ferris wheel was the shopping street. It is just here in this area too. So as I've mentioned this afternoon, you can walk back here to this part of the city. Budapest is very, very walkable, so this is approximately 30 minutes walking, 35 minutes walking from your hotel where we are now, with a nice pleasant walk. You can come back here this afternoon if you would like to. Yeah, so to the right, this is where we have the big Intercontinental Hotel, behind it Marriott, and if you have a look to the left, the second building there on the square, that's the Four Seasons Hotel. That's like a beautiful palace from outside. Fantastic architecture. If you walk back here this afternoon, please walk into the lobby of the Four Seasons because it is amazing. It really looks fantastic. Beautiful architecture with gold and marble and mosaics and statues, so I can really, really recommend you to go there. That's a beautiful hotel, fantastic location, beautiful architecture, of course very high prices. We think they call it Four Seasons because they have very high prices in all the Four Seasons there, but it's really worth to go and visit it. And now we are in downtown, we are in the city center. This is where we will continue the bus tour back on the Pest side. So I've mentioned that we have this pedestrian shopping street called the Váci, V-A-C-I. This Váci street has a lot of shops and stores where they are selling a lot of Hungarian products. And Zsolnai, here on the right you can see, for example, a hand porcelain decoration just over that yellow interesting thing, like a little tree, the white one on the right on the square. So this is a local product, porcelain, but crystals, handmade jewels, beautiful embroideries, tablecloths and blinzies you can find here. And we have products of agriculture, just like our local spice, paprika or wine. The Ferris wheel on the right, yeah, here we are, back at the Ferris wheel, Elizabeth Square. So the shopping street where you can find these products is just behind the shopping street. You just have to walk one short block behind it, and that's where you will find the beginning of the street. And for about a mile you can walk along Váci Street with a lot of shop stores, cafes and restaurants as well. And the architecture of Pest is very, very interesting because most of the buildings were built at the second half of the 1800s. It was when they started to develop the Pest side, and they wanted to build something like Paris, the beautiful French capital, Paris. And Budapest got the name Paris of the East. Yeah, because of the nice architecture. On the left-hand side, there is St. Stephen's Basilica. Again, we saw it in the morning already. And here in front of us, you can see a beautiful boulevard. And if the city got the name Paris of the East, then this boulevard got the name Champs-Élysées of Budapest, because it was built in the style of the beautiful French boulevards. Of course, it is a Hungarian name too. It is called Andrassy Boulevard. And this Andrassy Boulevard is very close to your hotel too. Yeah, so it's very easy to walk here Andrassy Boulevard. And look at the beautiful apartment buildings here. These were built in the 1870s and 1880s for high society families. Rich people were living here. Usually one building was owned by one family, but the owners were living on the first floor in the largest and most ornate apartment. The rest of the building was given for rent. And when they wanted to socialize, they could go to the opera house. And this is the opera house on the left-hand side. Ladies and gentlemen, look at that, how beautiful it is. It was built in the 1870s and it has been just recently renovated. It had been kept closed for 7 years and they cleaned and renovated. Very, very richly decorated. They have English guided tours inside. So if you would like to go and see the opera house inside, they have English guided tours. So that's like, let's say like 16, 17 US. You can pay with cards. If you don't have Hungarian money, you can also use cards to buy your ticket, and it's a very, very nice tour. Of course, it is used as an opera house. It's not only for the tourists, so at the evenings they have performances. Usually in one opera season, in one season they play 50 different plays, opera and ballet performances in the opera house. And they have gorgeous, really gorgeous acoustics in there. Very close to your hotel, I'm going to show, but look at the square where you can sit outside under the trees. There are like 6 or 7 different restaurants, great food, very nice atmosphere, and this is really the #1 meeting point of the local people at this part of the city. And your hotel from here is to the left, only 3 short blocks to walk. Yeah? So this is really easy. This square where we are now is called octagon. Octagon because 8 corners it has, in Latin 8, you know, octagonal. So it's octagonal shape it has, that's why we call it octagon. If you would like to learn a bit more about the communism, we have a museum. It's here on the left, this gray building here, this is what we call House of Terror. House of Terror, and the building had been functioning as the headquarters of the communist political police. Like KGB, you know, back in the Soviet Union, here in Hungary we also had this political police. They used the building as the headquarters and they brought a lot of Hungarians here. After they had arrested them, they took him here where they very often tortured the people in the basement. There was a prison as well, and the people from here were taken to another prisons. After that they were sentenced to prison or forced labor in short trials, you know, a lot of political short trials they had in Hungary too. At this boulevard we have a subway line that's really very old because it was built in 1896, so it's more than 120 years old, this subway line, and it's still in use. So if you don't want to walk much but you would like to walk to the city center, or if you want to go to the city center probably this afternoon, or to the opera house, the Ferris wheel, then you can also take this subway line because it's safe, it's really safe to use, it's clean and safe. You can buy tickets for the subway when you go downstairs for vending machines. When you buy your ticket, they are for one trip, you have to stamp, validate the ticket at the station, and then you can use the subway. It's very pretty stations they have, small yellow trains, and it's more than 120 years old. It was the second subway line in Europe. London built the first one, but Budapest built the second one. We will see former private mansions of high society families. Look at these buildings on the left, the white one after cleaning, after renovation. Here on the right at the corner, so very rich families 120 years ago built these fantastic private mansions to be the summer homes, because they were living in beautiful palaces in the countryside and these were only summer homes. I really hope everybody has a summer home like this at home. I would like to have one. I love these buildings so much, but these days, most of these buildings are used as embassies. So this is a kind of embassy section. Lots of embassies we have here. And now we are at the end of the Andrassy Boulevard. This is the end of our Champs-Élysées, and it ends up here at the beautiful Green Park. At this part of Budapest, we have the so-called City Park. That's like Central Park in New York. A beautiful Green Park offers a lot, entertaining, sport facilities. Always a lot of people are visiting the park. And in 1896, we had a big celebration, a big exhibition here, a kind of world fair. We called it Millennium, and we celebrated the 1000th birthday of Hungary. And they built this beautiful square you can see on the left, called Heroes Square. So this is our Heroes Square. We are going to stop. We're going to get off the bus, so you will have the chance to take pictures from the square. That's very, very beautiful. A very interesting place. It shows our history. You can see lots of statues there. Those are the statues of the most important Hungarian kings, leaders from 1000 until the 1800s. So this square was built to show Hungarian history. So now we will get off the bus and we will learn a little bit of Hungarian history, and we're gonna see these fantastic statues. Because we are going to stop here, get off for like 15-20 minutes, and we are going to visit the square. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we get off. You can leave your belongings on the bus. As I've mentioned, this is a short stop, only 15-20 minutes. We have to walk behind the bus. There's a crossing there, and we're going to walk to the square together. Driving into the city park a bit, so we will see some of the very, very popular entertaining facilities of the city park, because 120 years ago families of high society were living here. That's why they opened a lot of entertaining facilities for them in the park. For example, fancy restaurants they opened here, and one of the most famous restaurants of Budapest still is the Gundel restaurant. That's the name, Gundel. That was opened in the 1890s for these high society families with very high quality food, of course high services, high prices too, but it's still very nice, beautiful porcelain, fantastic food. So that's Gundel restaurant. So on the left hand side, this is the Gundel restaurant, yeah, this one on the left, very, very exclusive, still as I've mentioned, really nice place. And next to Gundel restaurant, we will see the main entrance of the zoo. So the Budapest Zoo is also here, and it has a beautiful main entrance decorated with porcelain, statues of elephants here on the left, polar bears on the dome. And the zoo is a very nice zoo and very old. It was one of the very first zoos opened here in Europe. It was opened in the 1850s already. And of course we have a lot of animals from different parts, very different parts of the world, but I would like to show you where the very lucky elephants live. They live in a beautiful building. Look at this white building on the left with the blue ceramic tiles. Here this is the elephant's house. Look at that. They are very, very lucky. It's like a mosque, right? And it has a porcelain tiles, like Matthias Church. On the left, we have a permanent circus building. The building is not pretty, but they have fantastic performances in the permanent circus building. And here on the right, this yellow building that's like a palace, this is the thermal bath. This is the So this big yellow building, this is what we call the Szechenyi thermal bath. I know it's a complicated name, but if you come back this afternoon, you can walk here, you can take the subway, or you can come here back by taxi. You just tell them the big thermal bath in the city park. Then 1,000 natural hot springs we have in this country. Here in Budapest, more than 100 natural hot springs where the water is coming from deep, from underground. It has very high temperature, usually 160, 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and contains lots of minerals, different minerals. Every spring is different with the minerals. And yes, on the left now you can see the building. It is very big because it has nearly 15 pools, 3 big pools outside and more than 10 smaller pools inside. And you can visit all the pools and also the saunas with one ticket. The ticket costs approximately 20 euros or 20 US dollars, and for the ticket you get you will have actually your own cabin, like a cubicle where you can change, you can change, you can leave your belongings there too. And you get something that's like a plastic watch, like a plastic bracelet that opens and locks your own cubicle, cabin or closet, whatever. They call it cabin here, You can also buy a ticket with a locker, but the lockers are very small and then you have to change in a big room with a lot of other people. So we usually recommend to buy the ticket with this cabin, how they call it. The difference in the price is like €1, so it's not much more expensive. And then you change, you have your swimming suits, and then you can visit all the pools, outdoor pools, indoor pools, and that's really a very, very nice experience. It's very, very relaxing, yes, it's very relaxing. You go to the bath, you sit in these hot water pools, and after that you may feel very, very tired, but you will get a lot of energy from it. And I would like to tell you that a lot of Hungarians, and actually not just Hungarians, we also have tourists who are coming here for that special reason to join the benefits of the healing water. So if you use the water regularly, like for 2-3 weeks, twice a day for like 30 minutes, then you will enjoy different benefits. Several diseases, rheumatic disorders, you know, can be treated by this thermal water because of the minerals. So in Hungary, when you go to the doctor because you have pain in your knees, in your spine, in your back, then the doctor is going to give you a prescription to go to a thermal bath. Yeah, and then you go with your prescription. In every bath there is a medical department too, doctors and nurses with special treatments. So in Hungary, this is the part of our social healthcare system, going to the thermal baths, and it's really very, very good, really very nice. I go to a thermal bath twice a week, and this year I'm 92, so I can really recommend you to try. Do not miss it. Let's try it. Yeah, not just Budapest, but all the different parts of Hungary we have these thermal baths. Okay, in Budapest you can find more than 20, but if you want to visit one, then this one in the Szechenyi bath is, in the city park, the Szechenyi bath is definitely a very nice one, a very beautiful one, and the largest one. So outside you will find a swimming pool with the regular water, you will find a fun pool. So this is how we usually do that, and in Hungary it's very typical, you know, people are meeting friends in the thermal bath, so probably not a bar or a restaurant they are going to, but we go to the thermal bath to meet friends. The corner, please do not have lunch there. But that's the direction to walk to city center. Yeah, the Burger King side, that's city center. And if you just cross in front of the Burger King and you walk a few steps, the little square with the restaurants is on the left hand side of the main street. Very nice food, great places to eat. Okay, so bye bye ladies and gentlemen, and see you later, and I pass the mic back to
Thank you, Melinda, also from my side. Yeah, we know that 7 o'clock we are leaving for our dinner cruise. So for tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we are leaving Budapest afternoon. Okay, so there will be two timing for your luggage outside of your room.